Okay, testing. Testing, 1, 2, testing. Cool, things seem to be working okay. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna stream for a bit today. Sorry for the late start. It's been a long day. The air conditioning unit at the school I work at broke, and so I've been dealing with 80-degree classrooms, which isn't terribly awful, but it definitely means that I'm very tired. Teaching 30 plus students in a classroom when it's 80 some odd degrees is not the funnest thing in the world to do. And they were remarkably well behaved the entire time, all things considered. But it's made it so that I feel like I spent all day in a sauna. And right now I feel like I'm just melting. Change the mix on that a little bit. I also figured out why my chat kept disconnecting during the last stream I did, and it was because Windows Firewall is stupid, and I hate it. But that's neither here nor there. I'm going to go ahead and set up the palette, which I'm in the process of doing right now, and then I'm going to work a little more on these D&D style Heroforge guys that, to be completely honest, I was hoping to be done with about a week ago. But I have not had too much time to stream. It's been very busy. Very, very busy. Uh, Helped my wife in Virginia Beach when we went to a convention. Unfortunately, the turnout for the convention was not great, but still had a pretty okay time. And right now, I'm working on this guy. And I'm trying to get his colors to match as closely as I can. Wow, it's really coming in like bright, bright through the light on the camera, because it's nowhere near that bright in person. It's actually a much darker orange, but that's okay. But yeah, just trying to get him to look as close as possible to the picture that we've got over there. So I'm gonna continue working on him, see how far I can get in the next maybe hour or so, because I believe that the pizza will be arriving around then, and that's when I'm gonna go have dinner with my wife. We're both very tired. We got in at like, dang, um, 11 p.m. And I've been up since about 4 a.m. today because my body decided I wasn't allowed to sleep past 4 a.m. But otherwise, things are going pretty okay. Hope the rest of you have been having a good day. And I hope you've all had a great time and a great weekend. I completely forgot that I have next Monday off because it is technically Memorial Day. What the heck is this thing? Is it focusing on these little dudes that are hidden? We're gonna move them over there. And let's see. There we go. Oops. I just painted on my shirt. So I'm just going to do what little bit I can right now to give this a little bit more color and saturation, to make it match a little better with the mock-up that they did in Hero Forge, and hope that this ends up looking okay, because I would love to get paid. You know what I mean? They just released, I don't know if any of you guys have seen it, but they just released pre-orders for a new Imperial Fist Praetor captain from the Siege of Chthonia for the Horus Heresy, and I am beside myself. I need to have that guy in my army. He is so cool looking. So I'm going to go ahead and try and get this done so I have a little extra spending money. Yes, Imperial Fists. I'm going to forever cling to that army as my army, and that's just how it's going to have to go. But I don't know if you've seen him. He is an absolute unit. They've gotten really good at making the fists look like immovable fortresses. Have you seen him? Have you seen the new Imperial Fist model? Because they have one for the Sons of Horus too, and that thing looks astounding. They both look oh, actually, that's a great cover picture for him. They both look really good, and it just okay. I'll go ahead and go to that really quick. Where's my window device? I think I deleted it. Okay. let's see. I want to go to window capture. Yes, I want to go to window capture. Oh, there is a window capture. Am I losing my mind? I mean, yeah. Oh, there it is. I was right on it. Okay, so boom. No boom. 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 There we go. These are the two new Praetor captains they made for the Siege of Chthonia book that just came out. And I just think they both look fantastic. Someone mentioned that they felt like he gives off strong Pedro Pascal vibes, and I'm okay with that if they want to believe that. But for me, he just really looks like Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead, and Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead is one of my rock icons. So anytime I can have a comparison for that, I'm going to take it. And I love the Cataphracti armor. I just love the whole, like, I mean, just look at how big he is. Apparently, he's almost as big as a Primaris captain, if not a little bigger, because they've just made the Terminator armor so huge now. And then, of course, you've got like the Horus or the Sons of Horus character, whose name I'm forgetting, and he looks fantastic. I love the combat knife. I love the armor. I love the banner on the back. Like that with all the skulls hanging off of it. It's just such a good looking set of like Greeblies. And so I'm pretty down for it. I like the look of it. And so I really want to get me one of those. And that way my friends have one more Imperial Fist to kill. And that's funny to me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get some of this stitching done, I guess. This is a very intensely detailed model, and I severely underestimated how much I was actually going to have to do on this guy. I was like, yeah, I'll paint him. He'll be nice and easy. But there's a lot of little detail I'm going to have to touch up, which is fine. But yeah, I'm excited about that model, and I don't have the money to get him now, but after this commission job, I should have enough money to get him. And that's going to make me incredibly happy. I've kind of given up on ever getting the Lion because it just seems like every time I see him potentially available, either in an independent sale or as part of the box, he's immediately sold. It's just an incredibly popular model, and it's a great looking one. Don't get me wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get it. Okay, what else? Oh, there is more purple to that, so I think I need to dry brush back over some of that purple to really bring out the damned souls thing going on. What else does he need to get? I've given him kind of the trim. I think maybe I need to go... Yeah, I need to go back over on the trim there. But that's okay. I think I ought to go back over with a stronger white on his sash and his cords. And so I think that'll have to be next. I'm getting to the point where I've got to do nitnoidy details, and of all the things that I usually have to do, that's where I start struggling a bit. Because it starts getting to points where I don't feel like I can hit them adequately. But that's fine. I'll make it work one way or another. And I think, because he didn't ask for me to do this to, like, display standard, he just wanted it to about my bead tier, I'll be perfectly fine using metallic metal paints. So that shouldn't be much of a problem. I don't know. Are you excited about any new Warham's releases coming out? I'm pretty jazzed on the new Terminators. I finally found someone who's willing to split the new 10th edition box with me. That really wants the bugs. So he's going to go ahead and get the Tyranids, which are also a fantastic set of units. And I'm going to take the Spec Marines. And I'm going to make myself some more Terminators to go in my army. And I've seen a lot of people none too happy about the previews that they've been putting out for the armies. But I think the fact that they're kind of doing a pretty darn good job weakening everyone and bringing the power level down quite a bit and bringing the power scaling down is going to be a big service for the game as a whole. And I'm just kind of hoping that 10th edition ends up being really good. What am I missing here? Unfortunately, that's a very tiny picture. I think No, I got it. I got that already. Okay, his bag needs to be kind of a pale brown with reddish sashes. I can do that. Let's get the brown. Let's get the red. Right now, the only release I'm interested in is the rest of the Tau stuff, and they released 10th. I wonder what more they're gonna do for the Tau, because they started releasing the new crew, and I mean the big thing I keep hearing that people wish they did more of was the auxiliaries, and I'm kind of on board with that. Because right now the Tau gameplay design is very limited in terms of what they can do with them. Though I did like the Tau preview. I thought that was really cool how they made it so that like different squads can support each other in focusing fire down on a single unit. I thought that was super cool, and I was pretty jazzed to see that they got some neat stuff going on. And I just got through trading all of my Tau for a bunch of Votan because I like the dwarf model aesthetic a little more. And I'm not mad at it. I was worried that they were going to do super cool things with the Tau, and I was going to be like, damn it, I wish I didn't trade my Tau. But I'm not at all mad at it. I'm happy that they gimped the Votan a whole lot and made them a whole lot less strong, and at the same time, still managed to make them threatening. And same with the Tau, because I was really getting tired of the overlapping rules and the rules that canceled out other rules in 9th edition. I think that the greater good ability will not work for auxiliaries. Yeah, you're not wrong. That would be a problem for them to have, but I trust Games Workshop would figure it out. They might make that the unifying rule for them or something. I have no clue. But it would be neat to see. I'm curious what they're going to do, because they like Vespids. The Vespid model's really old. I think they'll make an auxiliary detachment. Yeah, I think so too. Like, how old are the Vespid models? And, like, the crew talks? Like, I don't remember what they're called because my knowledge of the Tau are very limited. But I just feel like, with all that stuff, with how they've got the lore for the Tau, they can't ignore that for much longer. They're getting to the point where they've got to do something with the additional forces that fight alongside the Tau. Okay. What else do I need to do? I think that color turned out okay. Yep. Dark brown. He's got the red, the light pink reddish sash. We can do that right here. Bring that up a little bit. I am kind of tickled that people are noticing how unfortunately low Games Workshop stock is for a lot of their new releases. And, you know, justifiably complaining about it because things are selling out almost instantaneously. And it's a legitimate, valid complaint. It's really frustrating to have your hopes up for something and then to go and immediately see that it's gone. But the scuttlebutt I've been kind of hearing is that Games Workshop has basically... They've struggled a lot with shipping delays and production delays. I'm going to use my 3D Humanist Fire Warriors and say they're Guavesa. That's perfectly cool. I think that's a great idea. I've seen a lot of people use Imperial Guard that have been given, like, Tau equipment as Guavesa, and I think that that's really smart. I would love for them to release more stories like that. I wish they would, because it would be interesting to read non-Imperium perspectives. And also it'd make all of the Imperium fanboys, you know, whinge and cry more on the Twitter. I've decided that I probably ought to stop going on the Twitter because it is nothing but, like, a rage circle jerk. And that's not why I wanted to go on Twitter. I was hoping that it would be a place for me to network and meet new people and learn, see new streamers and artists and talk about the hobby. But there's just a lot of negativity going on over there. But yeah, I'm very antsy in awaiting 10th edition. I saw that the core rules leaked not too long ago, and I've been actively trying to ignore them because I don't want to spoil it for myself. I want to have, like, everything release, have the index release, have the core rules release, just have it all immediately available instead of being drip fed it so that I can you know, start playing with my friends. Because that's kind of a big deal to me. Something I'm looking forward to doing. Okay. I need to go to another window because I have my glasses off and that stuff is way too small. I never made the Twitter account. You're perfectly fine. Yeah, I mean you're not just perfectly fine. You're better off. I've only been on for like a month, maybe a month and a half, and I can't explain how much more anxiety and stress that it's put on me just because of watching idiots be idiots on there and say and do stupid things. So I'm very enthusiastically blocking any accounts that are stressing me out while trying to keep up with accounts that I want to be connected to, because it is so much easier to communicate on there. But that just means more idiots can spout nonsense and it gets harder to ignore. So, we'll see. It may not be something I keep for too long. But I am a little disappointed that all of the negative stereotypes I had for Twitter before I got one turned out to be essentially the case. Because I don't like being proven right on negative things. I would much rather be pleasantly surprised. Okay, so that thing is going to get its first layer. This thing is going to get its first layer. But yeah, I'm looking forward for them to release the. I know this is looking a little bit in the future, but they're eventually going to do, you know, a multi-pose Terminator kit, and I'm really excited because the mono-pose ones are gorgeous, at least to me, and so I can't wait to see what they do with the multi-pose kit. And I saw someone mention, and I thought it was kind of neat that the new Terminator Captain would make a fantastic baseline to do not Torgaradon, Captain Lysander. And I saw that they just recently brought back a bunch of old prints of fine casts and whatnot. And it just reminded me how far they've come and how much I wish they would just go ahead and get some of these guys to cross the Rubicon Primaris so that I can have fresh new models for some of these characters. But, you know, things are things. Eventually this stuff will happen. What else do I need to do? Because it is fangs. I think the fangs were kind of like a pale sandy white, so I'm going to mix some white and some of this bone khaki I've been using. But yeah, I can definitively say, having been on Twitter for a while now, that it is nothing but an anxiety inducer. I feel bad for people that are really stuck in Twitter and have made it a large part of their personality, because whatever they're getting out of it, I feel like it is definitely causing undue stress, whether they mean it to or not. Okay, I'm gonna give this other Tiefs some brighter khaki, and then I'll figure out what else I need to do with this guy. I know it's not exactly a Warhams, but it is a painting. Discord is pretty awesome. I'm very. It took me forever to get into Discord, and I'm pretty pleasantly surprised with how good it works for what I need it for. Especially because I really don't want to have to do Facebook much anymore. Discord has become a very nice alternative to that once I finally cut the cord. Okay. I think I'm gonna need to go back over him with the purple to get the weird fleshy face thing going on his book. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. But yeah, things have just been so darn busy over here that I haven't been able to stream as regularly as I've wanted to. But I suppose that's okay. It just means that when I do come back for the streaming, it's all that much more important, or whatever, valuable, appreciated. Other words I can't think of right now. Okay. I think this may be too purpley a purple for what I'm going for. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe that fleshiness will look okay. But yeah, I've been kind of reading through The End and the Death. I'm almost done with it, I think. And all I can really say is that Dan Abnett is one heck of a writer. He is, I understand why he felt the need to break it up into two books, because that man doesn't know when to stop. There is so much going on in that book, and it is just so dense. I'm very impressed with what he's got. Okay, let's double check to look at. I probably ought to just go ahead and pull this guy up in Heroforge and see if I can do a better zoom in and look around of him. Or not Heroforge. Forge World, Heroforge. It all starts looking the same after a while. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. No, that's not the one I want. Heroes. He is the... There he is. Yeah, unfortunately, that turnaround I've got of him in the corner is too small, and I can't really look at some of his other characteristics. Okay, so that's a white. That's a silver. That's a silver. I think that's also the brownish yellow, so I can do all that. My plan today was watching some YouTube Let's Plays, but since you're painting, I pulled some models out to paint too. Very cool. I'm glad that I've encouraged you to get to reduce to the pile of shame, and you know, as Ninjon says, slay the gray. I was considering that too. I've been trying to catch up with another streamer I like. I've been trying to catch up with their streams, and the going's pretty slow, but I figured that, you know, coming online and streaming for the first time in what I think is like 2 weeks is probably a better use of my time. So I'm happy I did that too. Your pile of shame is 10 dudes. Well, now hopefully it'll be even less than that. Okay, all of that is either white or silver. I think it's white. He's got white trimmed leather. My pile of shame keeps growing because I don't understand how to stop. I've got an Escher Gang squad that I need to paint. I've still got to finish the Custodies that I started months ago, because I realize non-metallic metal is hard and takes a lot of time. I've got to finish my Votan guys that I bought, or that I traded for recently. I've got to redo a bunch of... You just stop printing. Yeah, that's hard. That requires, you know, restraint and self-control, and I don't think I have that ability. I barely know how to say it. That's kind of what I had to stop doing too, because for a while, I was, yeah, big brain moment, right? Just walk away. Don't know what's so hard, bro. Just walk away. But I was having that problem too, because I got a newer 8K printer, and so my immediate thought is, I want to print all the things. I want it to all be super high def and crispy and gorgeous. And so that's what I was doing, until I realized I was growing my pile of shame at an exponential rate, and I was just going to end up overwhelmed again. So I had to stop myself. And I even threw away some of my prints that I didn't get to. Like, I had the smaller Fulgrim that I was going to paint. I threw him away. I had that one special Rogel Dorn. I threw him away. I basically got rid of a lot of things because I realized I wasn't going to get to them, and I didn't want to feel bad about it anymore. And I mean, they're resin. They were fairly inexpensive resin, so it's not like I can feel too bad about them. But, you know, it is what it is, and hopefully I'll be able to get back to it again. One of the creators on Cults, I believe his name is Fummelfinger, he recently did a bunch of new Mark 7 Marines in his very kind of traditional chonky style, and I really like them, and I want to get those and paint those. But, you know, like you said, I stopped. So eventually I'll get to it, but not until I finish this other ridiculous amount of painting I need to do. And right now, this needs to be my top priority, because this was a commission that was given to me a few weeks ago, and I've had to keep him waiting for long enough. So I am trying to make this top priority over all the other stuff I'm doing. But yeah, having the printer was a double-edged sword. It definitely got me to do a lot more model printing and painting than I ever thought I could. But it also made it so that if I want something, at the drop of a hat I can get it. And after a while, I just kind of got inured to it all, and I just ended up having huge piles of nothing to do. You know, that whole thing. So, learning when to stop was definitely a good thing. And hopefully I can do the same thing with the other minis. So I forgot, you play Tau. That's your main army. Do you have any other ones? This is something that is I have completely forgotten about, and I don't remember at all. But I feel like it's pretty uncommon for anyone to have just one army. So I'm curious what other potential armies you have. If I remember right, too, aren't you one of the old guard that's been playing for a while? So you probably have more than one army, like many more than one army. Uh-oh, no, we're not gonna let that happen. You play Grimdark Future Human Defense Force. Oh, I see. You did the smart thing. You did the real smart thing. Even with 10th edition coming out, that might end up being what I do anyway, is going back to Grimdark Future, because my friends and I all really liked it, and it's like, why bother changing what you're doing if what you're doing is enjoyable, right? And so even if 10th edition ends up being really good, if it doesn't scratch that itch, we're going to go back to playing Grimdark Future, I think. I don't know why this camera can't focus. Well, I do know why the camera can't focus, but shame on me for constantly having it out of focus. I understand how cameras work. Okay, let's get a little bit of that like yellow bright trim he's got around the edges. And I think no. So you actually have found people to play Grimdark Future with you, huh? Was it a group of friends who you were thinking of doing something like this, or was it something that you started doing and then you met other people who were already doing it? Again, I feel like this is you recruited your friends. Very smart, very smart. That's what I ended up doing. Once I realized that their armies were incredibly cheap, well designed, and the rules were very simple, I started recruiting all my friends to play. And they seem to like the system a whole heck of a lot more than Ninth edition. Because Ninth edition is too much unless you're a tournament grinder. I actually really, really like the Blessed Sisters models they just came out with, so I'm kind of fighting the urge to print off an army of that. Because I really want to, but that just seems like a bad idea right now. Okay. What's his butt look like? That's a still picture. You can't swivel that around. It looks to be made of the same material. So it's just a white with a brown rope around it that seems to have gotten fuzzed out. Taught them the rules, gave them the model, made the terrain. Now we're gaming every week. That's got to feel awesome. I can't imagine having that happen and it not just feeling like a super huge accomplishment. I wish I had that kind of time. Whenever we do play, we definitely do Grimdark Future and don't even think about Warhammer. Because every time we think about Warhammer, we just kind of get anxious with how much we need to remember. So we've been trying to Grimdark Future as much as we can. It just hasn't really been in the cards for us since we've all been very busy. My hope is to be able to get to play more once summer hits for us, because as school teachers, we'll all be on break, which means we should all have more time to enjoy those shenanigans. And it also helps now that all three of us have houses. My two friends who play with me, they bought their own houses recently. And so we all have a gamer basement. So at any given time, any one of us could just be like, hey, you want to come over to my gamer basement and play some Grimdark Future? And we can be like, hell yeah. Looking for doing 1 foot by 1 foot terrain tiles, and we can that we can use to build boards. That's really smart. A suggestion for that. I don't remember who did it because I just saw his video, and you probably saw it too if you're on the YouTube at all. But he bought 1 foot by 1 foot like floor mats, and because they're durable, they're tough, and they can and whatnot. He used those to kind of outline where he was going to put his urban development maps, terrain, and because he put a blueprint on it with other foam bits, he basically made it so that it can fold using those parts as the hinge. So that would be an incredibly smart thing to do. And I don't know if I showed you or if you were here for it, but another individual who has been on the channel a bit, he mentioned that they used to do that. Games Workshop used to have the 2 foot by 2 foot terrain boards that were like 80 or 90 pounds a piece. And they all had like something cool about them. Like the Necrom one could actually fit a Tesseract on it. And crazy neat things like that. So it's definitely a really cool idea, and at some point I'd like to do that as well. What kind of pants are you wearing? Is he just wearing gray pants? Did I get lucky? Yeah, I don't remember where I saved them, but give me a second. Because I'm almost positive I saved them somewhere. Nah, I'm not going to find it. But it was really neat, because that's what it was. No, you don't need to see that guy. You don't need to see that. I can cancel. Okay, so I'm going to eventually hit all of this with a wash. Hit all of this with a wash. And I'm going to have to do the inside of his mouth with a magenta. I'm not sure how I'm going to get there. Underneath in the back, I've got to do some more white to go alongside this part. But yeah, making terrain boards is one of the coolest, smartest things you can do. It definitely brings the game alive, at least to me. Makes it feel less like you're playing with toy soldiers and more like you're simulating a battle. All about that game feel. I'm not sure about the size of the tiles though, because I want to use them for both Grimdark Future and Warhammer. They wouldn't fit very well with Grimdark Future needing 4 foot by 6 and Warhammer needing 44 by 66. Well, I suppose when you play, you could design them specifically so that there's no terrain more than 2 inches from or within the borders, because if you do 2 inches on either side, that's 4 inches total, and so your 48-foot width ends up becoming 44 inches, and just make it so that there's nothing there for them to walk on or something. I don't know. And I didn't realize they were 66. I could have sworn they were 60. I could be wrong though, because I haven't really looked at it recently. I wonder if they're going to keep the same game size for the Warhams. Okay, now he's looking a lot more complete, but that white paint is a little rough. I think now, though, it's time to do metallics, I guess. Yeah, I think for Grimdark Future, they're going to be keeping a lot of the measure... Or not Grimdark Future, for 10th edition, they're going to be keeping a lot of the measurements the same. It doesn't seem like they want to mess with that, because they've made the skirmish board small enough to what they want the game to be. But of course, I do not know. Okay, I think in terms of metal, he's got the chain on the back, he's got the chain on the front, he's got those big spike things on his chest. And of course, the 2 buckles, the ones on the side. Okay, I think I can hit all that stuff. Let's hit the chain. Give that a nice silver to it. But yeah, that's something I've really wanted to do. 60, okay. And that's still smaller than a 4x6 board, though. Isn't it? No, 4x6. That would be 60, I think. Oh, dang it. No, that'd be... My brain is potatoing so bad right now. It's okay. That's 5 feet. That's right. Yeah, 72 inches is 6 feet. I knew that I was fudging the numbers really bad there. So it would need to be longer than a Warhammer board, but also longer and wider than a Warhammer board. Yeah, and I guess you could just... I know, right? The metric system is so much smarter than the ridiculousness that the Americans came up with. Or not the Americans, the Imperial system, or whatever you want to call it. It's so arbitrary and strange. And none of the calculations match up. And I don't know. I wish I'd grown up learning it just to make life a whole lot easier. Freedom units, right? I forget, what parts of the world use the Imperial system? Because I know it's the United States is one of them. But I forget what other countries. If I know there's like 3 total that use the imperial system of measurement. And so it's always very strange to me when I try and use it and realize, wait a minute, I'm speaking gibberish to anyone, to pretty much every non-American out there. Hey, MTG Ranger. 2 other nations, one in Africa, one in Southeast Asia. Yeah, that sounds about right. Thanks for chiming in and helping. I did not know that. Is the MTG in your name a reference to Magic the Gathering, by any chance? Because I like Magic the Gathering, and I wish that they didn't release a million things and overwhelm me and make me not want to play it much. USA, Liberia, and Myanmar, and some of the United Kingdom. Edge action. Learning us some education about freedom units. Very cool, very cool. I played a lot of Magic the Gathering between Ixalan and War of the Spark, and then I stopped because it just became too much money, and I decided the best way to avoid that was to find another hobby that wasn't as much of a money sink, and I chose Warhammer, because clearly my brain doesn't function the way it should. You think they still use miles in the UK? I've never really thought about that, and it feels weird to think about. So, with how tired I am, I think I'm going to stop. I can't imagine trying to use a... I mean, to me, that's what baking is like. It feels like I'm just using a mixed system of weights and measurements, and it confuses the sin out of me. Because we got, like, liters and cups and gallons. In fact, that's the thing about soda. We got 1 and 2 liter bottles of soda and then a gallon of milk. When we were in London, everything there was in miles. Very cool. So you got to visit London? How was that like? I've never been. My sojourns across the pond are non-existent. Dirty. Oh, that's not fun. So I'm curious though, how was it dirty? What was dirty about it? I love hearing travel stories. Streets were full of garbage. That's really upsetting to hear about, but I guess it does hold with tradition for a lot of Europe. Modern plumbing. Not to pick on the Europeans, America is definitely not much better in some places. When I went to Seattle, I was appalled at just the incredible number of transients that had nowhere to go, so they were just hanging out at, like, the park. People just take their garbage and put it in front of their house. Hopefully then, though, it's picked up by, like, garbage collection at some point. I don't know. I would not know. Do they... Hey, Jesse the Hufflepuff. I'm European and we don't have garbage in our street. Very fair. Very fair. What part of Europe do you hail from again? I have forgotten. I'm more joking about how, at least with my understanding of European history, waste disposal was not an incredible thing for a long time. But of course, I'm an American, so my knowledge of European history is very scant. How am I today? You're from the Czech Republic. That's right. I'm very tired. I got back in from a convention in Virginia Beach. That was a 4.5-hour drive at like 11 p.m. And then at work today, the air conditioning unit busted. And so while they were trying to repair it, all of the classrooms had no air conditioning. So we were running around with 30 plus kids in our room in 80-degree weather, 80-degree Fahrenheit weather. So I'm very fatigued. I almost didn't stream today, but then I figured I haven't streamed in a while, so I probably should. And so here I am. It might be why I sound a little doofy. But yeah, there's a lot of Europe that I'd love to visit at some point, but I have to have money to do that. And being a school teacher ain't cutting it. And I know I'm not doing anything Warhammer related in terms of painting today, but that's because I've had this commission kind of lingering for what feels like about a month and a half or a month or something. And I was hoping for a quick turnaround on this because I could really use the money. So, not for anything important, like I'm not struggling to pay bills, I just want to have more money. Your day turned good 30 minutes ago? What happened 30 minutes ago? Share the good news. Make my day better by telling me about how awesome your day was. What cool things have happened to you that have caused your day to improve severely? But yeah, you haven't lived until you've had to be in a sweaty room with a bunch of teenagers as an adult. It's definitely a vibe that I never want to have again, but it turns out they're probably not going to have the air conditioning unit fixed until the end of the week. So I am going to be bringing one of my fans to school like yesterday. Okay, this is definitely starting to look better. And I mean, this is black and white, so I can probably make a gray right here that will look a whole lot better than the current gray I've got on this bag of tools. I have no idea what these are. There we go. There we go. I have an interview tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. at the Burger King. The job title is porter and cleaning maintenance and probably more. Well, good luck with that. I'm glad to hear that you've got some good news lined up for tomorrow. I'm praying there's no bin. Okay, so there are no bins, so people just put it outside for garbage collectors to take it. But in some parts, they don't take it away until around 5, and people put that garbage there in the evening. So you basically get like 3 to 5 hours without a bunch of garbage everywhere. Oh my goodness. That's a bit. That's a bit to handle. I mean, I guess at least in the United States, we have a garbage bin for every house for collection in the areas where I live, so it's not quite that bad. So I'm sorry that you had to deal with that while you were walking through the streets of Britain. You were terrified? Yeah, I guess so, because that's like a prime place for something horrifying to like jump out. Or by terrified, do you mean more like aghast? British people can't drive? Huh, huh, that's pretty funny. I mean, Americans can't drive either. We're really bad at it. You're so excited you can't sit still. Understandable. I mean, it's a job, and you know, especially if it's like a first job, it's one of those things that's a big deal. So congratulations, and I hope it goes well. Skaven Turfland. Exactly. Yes, yes. Um, but yeah, it tickles me tremendously to hear about other countries from people that aren't from the country but have visited. I like getting other perspectives because I've spent a grand majority of my life in Virginia in the United States, and so any kind of travel, any kind of anything is neat to read about. I've been applying since the first of 2023, and you finally hear something. Yeah, that's how it is right now, and that's awful. You shouldn't have had to work that hard to try and get like an entry level job. Okay. I have no idea if I've actually been like on on screen for a lot of this, and I apologize if it's drifted really bad, but I'm really having a hard time keeping things straight right now. Hopefully it's fine. I mean, I hope the job is serviceable because everywhere had hiring signs but not hiring. So I've heard that that is because they very explicitly have those signs up to make it look like they're doing well, to make it look like the business is booming because they need more employees. But that's not actually the case. When you go to Austria or Germany, it's great. No garbage. People drive as they're supposed to. Everyone minds their own business. That definitely sounds like a much better thing to deal with than a bunch of people who are driving like they're incredibly old. Pisses you off. Understandable, because you get your hopes up hoping like maybe I can work there and get some work experience so that I can find something better. And then when you apply, they're like, yeah, we're filing this away. And what they mean is they're just going to file it in the garbage can. And then they wonder why no one wants to work. I keep hearing that. And it's just like, why would I want to work in these miserable conditions for this miserable wage? So I'm glad that you found something that it can at the very least be like a springboard to something better. I haven't been to Berlin yet, so I don't know what it's like there. It's probably lovely. If the rest of Germany that you've been to has been lovely, I can't see why Berlin would be very different. Didn't even get told. I didn't get it, not even. Yeah, I know, right? And there's a lot of that going on. My wife went through that a couple summers ago when she moved to Roanoke. She applied for a ton of different jobs and did the thing that you're supposed to do. She beat pavement and walked around and talked to people and called and nothing. And it's like after a while you just get discouraged because it ain't like it used to be. But, you know, can't do anything about it other than live in the system right now and hope that it gets better, which is the worst part about it. Because they set up this expectation for you and it's clearly not there. I had that moment when I was trying to teach government to a bunch of seniors my first year teaching, because, you know, the book is all about how the government's supposed to work. And meanwhile, you have politicians trying to cause a shutdown because the public opinion polls and whatnot aren't going their way. It's like, ah, the system is really, really messed up. You are not incorrect, and you're only getting a small or it's like a small sample of it right now. Just wait until you're a little older, see what else is going on, because it doesn't get much better. Maybe it will over the next decade or so, but right now we're kind of in this weird late stage capitalism section where it's like maybe France had the right idea. 22? Yeah, I know. You're right at that age. Golly, I'm 14 years older than you. Good gravy. Um I'm in my mid 30s, and so I've definitely had a lot to do or a lot to see with that. And you're in Europe, and you're pretty happy where you are. Well, I'm glad that that is the case, because I like to hear that at least somewhere seems to be okay. Um, Someone else I follow talked about how the British healthcare system, which is obviously not the exemplar of the world, but is still adequate, uh, prevented him from going into deep poverty like he would have to do here in the United States, because of a medical issue he had coming out of college. And so it's allowed him to continue his education and eventually start getting jobs as a freelance coder. And it's like if he had been in the United States, he'd still be in crippling debt today, and his quality of life would be so much worse. But yeah, I think we can all agree that there are definite issues with the system and the economy and how it works now, but we're not really in a position to change it, unfortunately, outside of keeping our mind and eyes on it, and trying to do what we can personally to make our lives better and make our friends' lives better. That's kind of what I've been doing, is it's like I can't change the world, but I can at least change things a bit for my buddies. Okay. That looks like it kind of resembles. Our welfare system is stretched thin because of all the refugees, but yeah, we get through. Yeah, that's the worst part, because you end up having a situation where you're doing everything right, but because someone else isn't, some other government isn't, then they're exploiting the system in some horrific way. It's like weighing down everyone. I don't know. It's a very complicated process that far better educated people than me are struggling to fix. So I don't think we're going to fix the world on a painting stream with an exhausted streamy. I think I'm almost done with the lad. I need to do the flamies on his skull dealy, but I think in terms of, oh no, I could put some silver buckles on his thing. But in terms of a lot of this, I feel like I managed to hit a lot of the small bits that I've been kind of putting off because I didn't want to do them. Okay, that's not good enough. We're gonna add some more shiny. But yeah, the idea of a welfare system is so frustrating for me, because it's like a no-win situation, right? Because you're going to try and build a welfare system to support people who obviously need the support, because not everyone can be perfectly stable, and anyone who says otherwise is wrong. We used to be better because we used to ignore that stuff, or we used to think everything was better because we used to ignore that stuff. So we can either build a system to carry as much of a load as possible, or just say forget it and watch all these people suffer and die. So I don't know. I struggle. I struggle with it a lot, because I feel like part of our job's government is to help uplift those who need it most, and then there's also that whole thing about how you shouldn't, that people are going to take advantage of the system, and it just keeps going. It keeps going. It won't stop. It's like there's a no win here. The win is to just be rich, and then you win. Okay. Does his book have? Yeah, his book has some, so I should probably get that too. Now, it'd be good for us in the long run because many of those young Ukrainians will probably want to stay here, boosting our workforce. And see, that's a healthy view. That's a healthy way to look at it. Is that, you know, it's unfortunately forced immigration because of bad things, but immigration in itself isn't necessarily bad, and you're kind of you're paying for the future right now, right? You're investing for the future. Like our population is slowly getting older, which is not good. This is going to help us. And again, I'm glad that you have what seems to be a fairly positive outlook on this, and you're looking at it that way because you're not wrong. That's a problem Japan is having right now, is that their population is getting way too old, and the birth rates have been so low that they don't have a way to support that system. And China is going to start having that problem too because of the one-child policy they enacted, right? So someone's got to step in and fill that gap. China, golly, the Communist Party really, really screwed the pooch with a lot of China stuff. But again, not an expert, so I'm not really going to talk too in depth on that. Just that, I'll put it this way: the way you're talking right now about the economy and immigration is like the exact opposite of what I'm used to hearing talking heads say about it in the United States. Because as far as they're concerned, all these immigrants are going to do is bring in crime and leech off the system and, you know, steal jobs from deserving people who were born in the country. And it's so exhausting to hear about, and it so misses the wider point. And then, of course, they do stuff like in Florida right now where they get rid of as many of the immigrants as possible and make it incredibly difficult to live in the state. And now, I think they did the same in Texas. And now it's like huge gaps in the labor market because all the people that were filling the labor market aren't there anymore. And we had that happen in Northern Virginia, too. There was even a little independent film about it by people who were documenting it. And it's just like, you're killing yourself. You're cutting off your nose to spite your face. That being said, some of them will probably do crime, some of them, and some of them just steal money. Our state caught them. But a few bad apples not going to spoil the rest. That is a very optimistic way to look at it, and I appreciate your mindset there, because you're not wrong. There are always going to be bad faith actors and bad elements in any group of people, but unless you actively encourage it to happen, it's never going to be the majority, right? I mean, that stuff pops up out of either necessity or someone incredibly sociopathic trying to manipulate the system. I don't know. The entire situation in Europe is so over my head. And all I can do from my ignorant little space over in the mountains in southwestern Virginia is pray for good things and try and be compassionate. And pat down this wet palette so that it doesn't collect a whole bunch of paint. Because it's 6:30 and I think the pizza's going to arrive soon. And I need to go eat food. Thank you guys for joining me. I do appreciate it. I've got this doodle right here. He's looking like he's getting close to done. What's really going to help is I'm eventually going to put a wash on him on some of these key spots to really accentuate the deep spots, and then hit some dry brushes to accentuate the high spots. I'm going to eventually do the Scully thing. I've been very worried about doing that. I'm really proud of how his face turned out. The coloring on the face ended up being really good. So that makes me happy. But then I've got one more. I've got to finish. I'm almost done with this lad. I've got to glue down some flocking, some grass flocking, so that it looks like he's in more of a field area or a forest area instead of, you know, in the mud. But he's basically done. And then I've got one more to do, which I hope I can get done by this weekend, which is this really cool Warforged Artificer. And I've been debating how I want to work on him, but I think the answer is going to have to be non-metallic metal. Or I mean true metallic metal. I'm either going to have to spray him all with like a metal color, or I'm going to have to spray him a darker gray and dry brush him in that metal color to get that sheen. I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. Thanks again for joining me, guys. I do really appreciate it. I had no idea how this stream was going to turn out because I'm close to delirious. So, have a great rest of your evening, a great rest of your day. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stream, Twice World, just watch my country getting occupied by greater powers in the last century. It would be hypocritical from us doing the same. Yeah, that is true. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stream later on this week. I have a pretty busy week set up ahead of me, but if I do, I'll see you then. If not, I will see you guys later. So have a good evening and goodbye. Bye-bye.